Hey, how's it going? And today I'm going to show you how to use a material to create a 3D animated progress bar. It could also be used in other ways, maybe to make an object disappear or something like that. But I just wanted to walk you through the basics of how you could do this. This is what it looks like. If I hit play, the bar just goes away. And that's a 3D bar. And there's other ways you could do it, but I think it's kind of cool to do it with a material. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to New Project. Just go into the third person template and go create. You go to load layout, default, and then we can go to the content drawer and dock in layout. And then we'll just go to the content folder level and we're going to create a material. So materials, there's a lot to them. You could spend a lifetime probably studying them. It's a specialty for sure. So, and there's a lot of math involved. So anyway, we're going to double click into this. We'll just leave it called new material and we're just going to go ahead and dock this. Interestingly, I have a funny feeling in Unreal Engine 5.4 this material node is going to change. And I say that because I do a lot of stuff in Unreal Editor for Fortnite and their material node is based on 5.4 engine and it's going to be a lot better and simpler in 5.4. So you'll be able to adjust the values right here in this node without having to create separate nodes. I know that's coming. We're going to go over to the blend mode here and change it to masked. Then we're going to right click and search for something called bounding boxed based. And this will allow us to create a mask. And you can play around with these outputs, these pins, to change the direction that the gradient is going. So if you, and then the next thing we want to do is if you press 3, the number 3 on the keyboard and click, you'll get a constant 3 vector, and that's what we want. And then if you right click, you can search for something called dot multiply dot product right here. And what we're going to do is plug our blue channel into the B. And depending which way we want this to go, it just depends. So let's say I want it to go from left to right. So let me change what this is. It's a sphere right now. Let's make it a box. So I click right there, make it a box. You can hit Alt and turn and see it a little bit that way. And so I'm just going to put the green in here. And there's a nifty little feature. Oh, well, if we click this first, I don't get too ahead of myself. We're just going to set this as a default of 1. And it should turn blue. Now, if we click this and right click, you can put it in a preview mode and kind of see, you see this gradient starting there, which means it's going to go from the side. Now watch, if I change it in the R and go in there, you'll see it's coming from the back. I don't know if you can see that. It's coming from the back. So depending on what direction you want the gradient to go is the channel that you'll plug in. So for this one, let's say I want it to go from left to right, so I'll use the green channel there. So just play with those channels, and that will affect what we're going to do. Now I just remember I turned that, so now, yeah, I'll get confused here. Okay, so that did confuse me before, but this can also confuse me, this preview mode, so I'm just going to turn that off. And let's see, we only have one more thing to do. There's something that I struggled with a long time, and I don't know why I was paranoid of certain nodes, but one thing I was always kind of confused about was, if we come into material, is this thing called material parameter collections. Anytime I hear the word parameter, I get I get stressed out. But it always seemed like I remember somebody saying some joke about someone using the word parameter should be taken on the field and beaten with a club, but it's one of those words, that I don't know. It's a funny word. But anyway, it's a new material parameter collection. And basically what it does, it's almost like you can think of it as a structure that holds values that we can then access through the sequencer, specifically through the sequencer, and it makes it easy for us to manipulate materials in that sense. So just think of it as a kind of as a data asset for materials that we can easily access. I don't know why no one ever explained it to me like that before, but that's why it's just x equals 1, y equals 5. So anyway, if we double click into it, these are the kinds of values that we can access and manipulate through it. So what we're going to want is a fade amount. So we're going to click that plus, come here, and we'll come back to this because I'll have to custom adjust this value, the default value. But let me just, I don't know, let me just put in a 0.5 for right now. And I'm going to call this fade amount. And that's all we got to do. So now we'll have access to manipulate this, and we may want to disconnect this in a minute from up here on the, we might want to undock it in a minute here. We're going to come back into here, and now that we've created that parameter collection, if I right click, I can actually go collection parameter here. And then over here, I can select it here. And down here, the parameter name is the fade amount that we just made. See so how it's almost like a database? So almost next thing we're going to do is just pull off of here and search for subtract. Should be able to get subtract here. And then this is going to go into here. And then this is going to go into opacity mask. And believe it or not, that's all there is to it. And we'll go apply and save. And you'll see what is driving it right now is the fade amount is at 0.5 coming off of here. So that's why I say we're going to have to undock this. And now if we play with this amount, you can just click and drag. See how we can make it go all the way up? So we want to be aware of this value. We might have to change this. So right now, to make it fully exposed, I'm just going to write this down, negative 0.524. And then to once it goes away, the value that at which the box goes away is going to be 0.7. So that's the value at which it goes away, at 0.7. And like I said, we may have to change those values. One other thing I just noticed is we can come over here, click this, and turn on two-sided. Now we'll just go apply and save. Okay, so we're done. Now the reason we're not seeing it is because if we come into our parameter here, where did it go? Over here. I undocked it. We set the default value at 0.7, which is when it goes away. So we just change this to negative 0.53 should be good. And now we should be able to see it if we go back in there. So let me save that. So if I come back in here, you'll see we can see it now. Okay, so that completes the creation of our material and our parameter collection. So now what we're going to do is we're going to create a blueprint. Come up here, go to blueprint class, go to actor. We're going to double click into this. And here's where it can get tricky because we're going to just add a Q is all we're going to do. And depending on the direction that we scale this, now because I've done this before, I know if I scale it this way on the green, on the, I guess that's the Y, that it should work, the material should work on that direction. But I may have to adjust these values, but you'll see in a minute what I'm talking about. Now with that stretched out, this cube, because this is going to be our progress bar, if I come over here to materials, I can just go to new material now and apply that new material onto this and see how it's completely black. So anyway, we're going to come in here and now I'm just going to drag my new blueprint onto the scene. And there it is. Okay, so now the last thing is to double check if this is right. I can go into this parameters here and adjust this value and see it does make it go away. So I'm on the correct axes. This material is on the correct axes. So then the last thing we got to do to bring this home is we're going to create a sequencer. So we're going to right click, go to cinematics and go level sequence, double click into this, and it has a material parameter asset specifically available for us. So we can come here and there it is right there. And there's our new parameter collection. So now all we have to do, if I click here, there's our fade amount that we created. And what did I say the initial amount, the full amount was, if I click Make sure auto keyframe is on. I believe that's it. And let me come down here. So the seeable value is negative 0.53. And now if I click here and go to the end of the sequencer, I can change this value. If I change this value to 0.7, that makes it go away. And now if we go play, I come to the beginning and go play, you'll see there's our progress bar disappearing. So then all we'd want to do if we wanted to, make the sequence play, we could come into the level blueprint and trigger the sequencer to play, and then we have this animated progress bar. So it's pretty cool. I can turn off the gizmos and hit play just to trigger the sequencer, and you get a look at it, what it looks like. It's cool, right? It's just something cool to play around with and get you more familiar with all the possibilities that Unreal Engine has. So anyway, I hope you found this helpful.